it is Julie. Welcome back to Pages and Pens. I am here with the lovely Amber from Amber's Books and More.
Hello again.
She'll be linked down below. She was here for part 1 of our writer Arthur. She was here for part 1 of my writer and author Q&A with all of your questions from Twitter, and we are back for part 2. And we're going to keep on trucking. You guys know this deal. If you have not seen part 1, it will be linked in a card up above. So check that out. We're going to get right back into the questions. And the first question is from Denitra. How do you choose character names?
It takes a long time to find the right name, I think. And sometimes you try so hard to make it unique, or if you have anybody in your life that you know with that name, it makes it even harder because you don't want them to think that they you based it on them.
Yeah.
But I use a lot of baby naming websites, a lot of I use a lot of Irish names, so I use a lot of Irish name databases, things like that.
Yep, Scrivener has a name generator.
I still have never seen it.
I'll show you. I'll show you later. But I use name generators or baby websites, things like that. And I also have a doc of names that I like that I want to try to fit into stories or that I think work for different things. So,
has a character's name ever just completely come to you without looking?
Yeah.
I have had a couple in this current one that I didn't even know they were showing up, and I just started writing, and I'm like, oh, there's Sheila. Who's Sheila? I don't know. Let's see what she's doing.
Let's hang with Sheila. No, names just come to me, and then I panic a lot. I change my characters' names a lot. I get married to certain names, and then other names I'm pretty fluid on, so I've done a lot of find and replace on changing names, which is...
And it doesn't always work, which I've found in the editing.
It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta go back.
Sometimes they'll say, who is this person? And you're like, oh, that's who that was before.
That was his name before. We gotta change that, because that's not his name anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it has to feel right. I think that when you plan, which we talked about in the first part of this video, when you plan your characters out and you know them so well, that's how you know them. That's their identity then. So it's hard to change, but I think that it also, when you spend enough time with them, they tell you sometimes what their name is. It's a weird thing, but sometimes it's just
no, that's not my name. That's
what they are. Our battery had to cool down, even though we're the ones sitting in front of a fire. Next, we've got a question from Allie from Hardback Hoarder. She asked, what do you think is the strongest part of your writing? Your characters, your dialogue, your world building, etc. And then what is also your weakest?
Well, I think your strongest is dialogue.
I like dialogue a lot.
I think that I'm good at exposition.
You are good at exposition,
sex scenes.
Yeah, she's good at the steamy stuff. Steamy stuff and exposition.
Yeah, I'm not great at dialogue because sometimes I worry about making it sound proper without saying it out loud to make sure it sounds like something someone would really say for their age group. I
personally love dialogue, so I'm glad it comes across as being good. I think I suffer with appropriately spacing out information that characters are getting.
Info dumping.
Yeah.
If that's your weakest, that was still pretty good. You're doing damn good with your life. Okay?
I will figure it out. I'll figure it out before it gets to you guys.
Once you let yourself go and just do what they wanted instead of what you thought they wanted, the pacing was on point. So you just have to let yourself be the writer that you're supposed to be.
That's a beautiful statement. That needs to be on a pillow. Just let yourself be the writer you were meant to be. What time of day do you find yourself writing the most? And I think we answered this in a prior question as well. Nighttime.
Late at night.
Yeah.
Even though I start to feel the itch at 8:30, like I said, I don't actually start flowing really well until about 11:30. Mm-hmm. So before I'm struggling, what am I going to do? Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and then I'm done at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Then I have to get up at 5 to go to work, which sucks. I zombie through it. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about those late night hours that for me just really work. Do you use any writing resources? Videos, printables, storyboards, etc.? This is definitely an Allie question because she does tons of storyboards. She did a gorgeous video on her writing process with storyboards and stuff.
I haven't watched it.
It's really good.
I need to watch that. I need to watch it, Allie. I'm going to watch it, I promise.
Yeah, I'll make her watch it tonight.
I do and I don't.
Yeah.
I have I know you do more of a Pinteresty type board. I just have a folder on my computer that I have character names and just pictures of, I guess it would be what you do, but just in a folder rather than on a board. So everything from what kind of clothes I think they wear to their hair color, everything. And then any scenes that take place in certain locations, I research those locations and throw in and there's a scene of Central Park and how it looks from a window, and I have pictures of how it actually looks from that window so that I can properly describe it. Even though after seeing it in person, I'm like, maybe not. That picture was just a good picture.
That was just a really good picture because that's not what it looked like at all.
And she caught me on it. So.
I was like, if we hadn't just been to New York and saw that view, I would have let this go. But having just been there, that's not that.
And we both commented on it like,
that's not it.
That's not what I expected.
No. So yeah, I do have within Scrivener like a doc for each of my characters that has their aesthetic. Outside of that, yes, I have folders within Scrivener in my resources of locations. I have different website links for class structure and doing different things within my book because it's about witches and fae. So I have folders in there about the fae structure, you know, and how I want that to work. And
I'm so excited to get to more fae.
And the different witches and the witches council and how all that stuff works. So I research and then I pull links where I think that something might be inspirational. Not videos. It's mainly
I don't do videos.
No, it's mainly picture inspiration for characters and places, and then links for language, dialect, slang, things like that.
I don't really do research on the language and dialect. I think I should do that more.
I think the same way getting to know your characters helps. I think knowing how they would speak, you know, is helpful, you know, too. So yeah, I do that, but that's all.
We can't all be as good as Ellie.
No, we can't. I want to be. One day when I grow up, I want to be Allie. Oh, Dinetra asked again. Sometimes when you have dreams, do they give you ideas for your story to write?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've actually dreamed of stories as I was writing them, of scenes that are coming up that I've been like working through in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also had dreams that I woke up and thought, wow, that would be a great story, and I've written it down and expanded from it.
Yeah.
So like I've never dreamed of the like she says that she dreamed that entire scene in her head and wrote the whole story around it.
I didn't know that.
The scene in the forest.
Oh.
She dreamed that scene and wrote the whole story around it. So I've never done that, but I've had a dream to where the premise of my dream would make a good story and I work around it.
Not an entire book, but a lot of my flash fiction from Shoot Down the Wendy Bird was centered around different dreams that I had. There was one where she gets like trapped in the mirror. She like sees her reflection, she gets trapped in. That was a recurring nightmare that I had as a child.
Yeah, I think I even texted you about that one and was like, oh my god, and you were like, yeah, I had that dream.
Yeah, I had that dream all the time. She was like, that's terrifying. I was like, yeah, I was a child and I had that recurring dream all the time. So I finally just wrote it out to try to like work through the memory of having that recurring nightmare. And then there's also a short story in there about sleep paralysis, which I have too. It's not fun. It's not a good situation.
Nobody wants sleep paralysis.
Nobody likes sleep paralysis.
No.
So I definitely have taken dreams and made short stories and flash fiction out of it. And I've taken dreams and worked, you know, little tidbits into stories, but I've never like written an entire book off of it, but a story I have. A lot of those late night thoughts where I just do like a voice memo on my phone and wake up the next morning and make sure I add it in. Molly asked, what is your process for plotting?
Gosh, and she underlined plotting as though to say, I don't care about this other pantser lady.
She didn't know you were a pantser. The back of my hair feels so hot.
It's on my ear.
Just your ear?
Just my ear.
Just your one ear? This ear is fine. I don't mind my ear being warm. I feel like my hair may just singe off. It's aesthetically pleasing though, yes?
But it's getting hot, guys.
It's getting a little warm on my back. On my back parts. So Molly asked my process for plotting, and a lot of my plotting was done 4 years ago, but essentially what my process was, I try to plot out every chapter, and that is insane. Don't do that. So I plotted out where I knew I wanted the story to take place, the setting. I plotted the characters heavily, and then changed almost all of them. And then I plotted the theme, the genre, what I wanted it to be about. I knew it was going to be about witches. I knew it was going to be about fae. And I jotted down, you know, extensive notes about how I wanted the magic system to work, how I wanted the fae structure to look, how I wanted both of those things to play into the real world. And I knew it wasn't going to be a high fantasy. I knew it had to be in this world. So I plotted all of the different ways that it might interact with our day-to-day living, character relationships, interrelationships, and I definitely plotted out internal struggles and conflicts and external conflicts and struggles, and made sure that I had enough pre-plotted conflicts to make the story continue to move along. Plotted all of that out in extensive notebooks. I had a notebook for characters, a notebook for setting, a notebook for plot, and worked my way through an entire trilogy of what I thought was going to happen in each book. A lot of that is changing as I started to write, but originally that's what I did.
Even though I find, like, I think of myself as a pantser, I think they call it like dot plotting or something like that, where you just write like one dot point of what your scene is going to be about so that you know where to go. I was like, I ain't got time for that.
I would do that. I would absolutely do that. Like, oh, she's going to have a fight with her mom. It's going to be about this. She's going to do this. She's going to have this conflict with her father.
And the point is finding what works for you.
Yeah.
What works for you, what works for me, may not work for, was it Molly that asked the question?
Yeah, Molly.
So, I mean, it's just what works. You have to I've tried the snowflake. I've tried the full-on plotting.
Because I thought, like, that's what you have to do. You've got to plan this out. You can't just let it go willy-nilly or else you're going to just peter on forever and not have a direction.
That's part of the problem with writing is we've been told all the things that we're supposed to do so long that when it doesn't work for you, you think that you're not a real writer. But you are. You just have, they're so, like, even if you don't do NaNoWriMo, go onto their pages where people talk about if they're a pantser, if they're a plotter, if they're a planter, if they're this snowflake. They have so many forums there that people talk about it. And maybe you could find the one that works right for you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's got to be about what works. You know, I did what I thought I should do. And I think that sometimes you can overplot as a way to keep yourself from actually starting to write. Because if you don't actually ever start it, you can't fail at it. So I was way too scared to start writing this story because I really, really love it. And I didn't want to start writing and have it get away from me or not be good. So I overplot it as a way to prolong. Like, I'm still working on it. You know, I'm just getting ready. I'm not ready to write yet. So I'm still, you know, it's not ready to write. And I use that as an excuse to avoid writing. So
and it's easy to say, like, I'm getting ready, but you can fix a bad book, but you can't fix something that's not written.
Yep, cautionary tale. Just start writing. I think she also asked, when it comes to writing dialogue, do you plan your scenes ahead or do you just write it as it happens and see where it takes you?
I'm a pantser, so I write it as it happens and see where it takes me.
She writes it as it happens.
Yeah.
Do not plot out dialogue. My characters are very, very real to me, again, because we do so much in terms of character building in our own heads before we start. I trust that they're going to go where they need to go. So I do not plot dialogue. It is one of my favorite things to write, which is weird as a plotter, that the majority of my book is very dialogue heavy, and I don't plan any of that, but...
You don't plan, a lot of times you don't plan what you're going to say to somebody.
Excuse you.
You don't plan what you're going to say to somebody before you say it. So you just talk normally. Yeah. It comes to your head, and that's how your character should be.
And then the last question is from Nora, and Nora wants to know, how do you know, this is a great last question.
Yeah.
How do you know you're done with a book or story and it's ready to publish or for the public?
Let me break that down into two different ones.
Yeah, she also asked another question in here, so it's not quite the last question.
So how do you know you're done with a book or story? Your characters will tell you when you're done. You will get to the end of the story and you will feel it that, okay, that's where it's supposed to end. And when you start having people read it, beta readers or editors, if you start to ramble on after the story ends, they will tell you. That is hard for some people, but for me, it's always just been my characters are like, yep, I'm done, that's it. Thank you for telling my story. But then the second part is, how do you know it's published or ready for the public? That's a whole story. You can edit and always find issues to fix. So there just has to come a point where if you're not finding anything that drastically changes the story, you need to stop. Like when you're nitpicking, like, oh, well, maybe she could sigh here instead of like let out a breath that she didn't know she was holding.
That she totally fucking knew she was holding, by the way. Because you know when you're not breathing. You know when you're not breathing.
Well, I don't sometimes, but because you can edit forever.
For Shoot Down the Wendy Bird, I knew exactly when my stories were over, like exactly, and they were very much snapshots. Like I said, picture inspiration, and I only told what was happening in that picture. I did not expand before or after, and that drives a lot of people crazy, but I personally really, really love leaving it open-ended like that. Now I haven't actually gotten to the end of this book, so it's hard for me to answer, but I know that it's a trilogy, so I know exactly where this book will stop, and the next book will pick up. And then as I start to write that one, we'll see where that one stops and the third one picks up and, you know, how it works. But so I don't think that that's going to be a problem for me to figure out exactly where it stops. I know because I plotted beforehand.
You already have a very clear idea
of
and
what's
I'm
happening
even
here.
like, I'm here for it. I want you to write it so I can finish reading it.
I'm ready for it. So that's that. And again, like Amber said, for when it's ready for the public, I think you get a couple people that you really trust and you let them read it and you take your edits. You figure out what they said works for you and what doesn't. You make your edits. Step away from it for a little bit. Do another reread. Make sure you're happy with it. And then whether you're pitching it to people or you're self-publishing, you know, and then you move forward.
If your plan is to self-publish or to try to go the traditional route, because you have to know that if you're trying to go the traditional route, no matter how perfect you think it is, their editors are going to edit it.
You're working on it again anyway.
And also, one thing that I think a lot of writers need to remember is no matter how great it is, not everybody's going to like it. And you can't make it to where you think that if like 5 different people give you, let's say 4 people give you the same feedback and one has a totally different idea, you have to take that into account that maybe they're not your target audience and maybe they're not just meant to be a person that reads your book. Because if you try to make them happy and them happy but they counteract, nobody will be happy.
What she said. And then last up is, how do you find author friends or mentors?
I found that one.
I
think Twitter, NaNoWriMo forums, BookTube. A lot of booktubers are also writers. So if you're a booktuber, find another booktuber that you think your personalities would mesh. And also that somebody that likes the same genres and somebody that will like the genre that you're writing. You don't want to be writing a historical fiction and try to get her or me to be your beta readers or a friend with writing, because I don't like them. So nothing you write is going to be good to me. I'm sorry, but I don't like historical fiction.
Yeah, I think, you know, in terms of like professional editors, you can edit for grammar and sentence structure and dialogue and plot and stuff like that, even if you're not into a genre. But yeah, you want to make sure you're going to the right people. The Buddy Read group on Facebook is a good place to meet other readers and writers. I think that there's AuthorTube, you know, there's BookTube, there's AuthorTube that a ton of writers are on. And then I'm really hoping to do a lot more with writers in general and new writers and ways to try to build a network for us too. So hopefully, if that's something that you want, that's something that's coming soon. If you're interested in finding other writers or authors or mentors, friends that are also writing with you, and you're not doing NaNoWriMo or you don't want to organize your thoughts in your group there, then definitely comment down below and you guys can find other friends as well. I will also just hopefully be reaching out to some people about some opportunities that are coming up that are still secret, but that I really hope to bring to you guys soon. Look for those, but I will be hopefully doing some things with writers and authors in the near future, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, that's been all of your questions from Twitter, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to ask such great questions. Hopefully we answered them well, gave you guys some inspiration, and between the 2 videos, you learned a little bit of something. So the long and the short of it is that if you're writing, you're a writer. Period. So own it, start it, do it, make it a part of your daily life. You've got this. I believe in you. I'm here to help you through it. And hopefully this gives you a little bit of a boost and a little bit of incentive to sit down and really get going. But if you need a mentor or a buddy or somebody to keep you on track, comment down below. I'm sure you guys can make some new friends. And at the very least, I'll start stopping in and kicking your butt. That's that. We're going to get back to writing. We've got stuff to do.
Get to writing.
We got stuff to do. We've got to go write, so enough of this. But if you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Click subscribe, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye, guys.
And do you want to stop it and do a whole new intro for part 2?
No. I'll just do another intro right here.
Oh, you don't. I mean, like, I'm bad about editing, so I'm like, I have to stop it and start a new one.
Oh, no.